I still remember the sound the world made when it went silent. It was February 12th, 2018, a night so cold that even the trees seemed to creak in pain. I was driving back from my cabin near Athabasca Lake, a stretch of frozen wilderness where the only thing more common than snow was loneliness. My name's John MacArthur. I'm 55, and until that night I was the kind of man who laughed at UFO documentaries. I'd call them cheap entertainment for bored minds. But life has a way of laughing back at you. The road was empty, no lights, no traffic, just a ribbon of black ice cutting through the white. My old Chevy hummed softly. I was humming too, half asleep, when everything, absolutely everything, stopped. The dashboard lights flickered out, the engine died, even the radio hiss vanished. I thought I'd hit a patch of ice, maybe shorted the battery. I reached for the flashlight in the glove box, and that's when I saw it. A light, blue and alive, hovering over the tree line. It wasn't lightning, it wasn't a plane. It pulsed, slow, deliberate, almost breathing. The air grew thick, charged like before a thunderstorm, but heavier. My hands shook, yet my body wouldn't move. And then, a vibration. Not sound, not touch, something deeper. It came from inside my head, like someone whispering directly into my bones. A single message, not in words, but in meaning. Stay awake. That's when the light expanded, swallowing the forest, the car, me. I tried to run, but my legs refused. I fell to my knees on the icy road, and the blue glow wrapped around me like liquid glass. My breath froze mid-air. My heartbeat slowed, not from fear, but because something else had taken control. I remember floating, yet not rising. The world below me faded into a sea of white static. My thoughts scattered, rearranged. There was no pain, no panic, only a stillness so complete it felt ancient. When my vision cleared, the sky was gone. I was standing, or maybe suspended, in a place with no edges. Everything shimmered, like fog lit from within. I couldn't tell if I was inside a room or inside a thought. Then I saw them. 3 figures, transparent, almost human in outline, but fluid, as if made of mist and light. They didn't walk, they appeared. My chest tightened, yet no fear came. Instead, an overwhelming sense of curiosity. I tried to speak. My mouth moved, but no sound came. And still, they answered. Not in English, not in any language. But I understood. You are not in danger, John. You are being shown. Shown what, I wanted to ask. But the thought was already known. One of them stepped closer. Its form shifted, almost mirroring my own reflection. I saw my eyes staring back at me, older, sadder, as if time itself had bent. Then, everything around me darkened. The fog condensed into a wall of light, a living surface. Images began to flicker across it, earth seen from above, then flashes of fire, floods and faces. Some human, some not. I couldn't process it all. My head burned with 1,000 memories that weren't mine. And then, nothing. Blackness. Silence again. The kind that feels like eternity compressed into a breath. When I came to, I was slumped over my steering wheel. The engine was running. The headlights pointed toward a snowbank. I blinked hard and realized I wasn't where I'd been. According to my GPS, I was 42 kilometers north of where the car had stalled. 3 hours had passed. I checked my phone. Dead. My watch cracked. And on my left forearm, a faint circle of light glowed beneath the skin like the after-image of a burn. It faded slowly, pulsing once, twice, then gone. I sat there, shaking, trying to make sense of it. The snow outside looked untouched, the road empty, but something in me had changed, like the world had tilted a few degrees off its axis, and only I could feel it. When I finally reached home, the first thing I did was pour myself a drink. The second was to look in the mirror. For a moment, just a heartbeat. I swear my reflection blinked after I did. That's when I knew. Whatever happened out there, it didn't end on that road. For weeks after that night, I tried to convince myself it had been a dream, but dreams don't leave marks. They don't move your car 40 kilometers north, and they sure as hell don't whisper your name when you're wide awake. The morning after, the circle on my arm was gone. Not a scar, not a bruise, yet every time I touched the spot, it tingled, like static under the skin. I told myself it was frostbite, nerves, anything logical, but logic doesn't hum inside your bones. That hum started 3 days later. I was fixing a power socket in the kitchen when the refrigerator began to vibrate softly, not a mechanical shake, more like a pulse. Then, suddenly, the lights flickered, and the hum grew louder. It wasn't in the room. It was in me. At first, it sounded like a low frequency, a distant generator. Then it changed. Words began to form, not spoken, not heard, but imprinted, like thoughts I didn't think. John, do not be afraid. I froze. The pliers fell from my hand. Who's there? I shouted, though I knew no one was. The air felt heavy, the way it does before lightning strikes. Then came another pulse. It is not over. I stumbled back, pressing my hands to my ears, even though the sound wasn't external. The walls around me seemed to breathe, expanding, contracting. My dog, Max, started barking toward the ceiling, his tail between his legs. And then, just as suddenly, it stopped. No hum, no vibration, just the steady ticking of the kitchen clock. For hours I sat at the table, trying to make sense of it. I wrote down every word, every sensation. I even tried recording the silence on my phone, as if I could capture something invisible. All I caught was a faint static crackle, like distant radio chatter. That night, I dreamed again. Only this time, it felt less like dreaming and more like being summoned. I was standing in the same white mist from before, the same formless space, the same 3 shapes in front of me. But now, I could feel something else, a presence behind them, huge, silent, watching. Why me? I thought. The answer came instantly like an echo inside my skull. Because you listen. The wall of light appeared again, shimmering like water. This time it showed the earth, but not the one I knew. I saw continents fractured, coastlines swallowed by waves. Above it all, a faint network of lights surrounded the planet, thousands of them, pulsing like veins. You are not the first. You will not be the last. I wanted to ask who they were, what they wanted, but my throat locked. The figures moved closer, and suddenly the air smelled like ozone and rain. My heart pounded so hard, I thought it would burst. What you call time is a cage. You're standing at the edge of its bars. The words felt impossible, yet familiar, like remembering something from before I was born. I saw flashes, ancient cities, stars collapsing, and then faces, human faces, ours, but different, taller, brighter, watching us like parents watching children about to burn down the house. One of the beings extended a hand, if you could call it that. It wasn't solid, more like strands of light folding into shape. When it touched my chest, the world imploded. I woke up gasping, drenched in sweat. My clock read 3:03 a.m., and from somewhere deep inside the walls came a single pulse, 3 beats, like a slow, mechanical heartbeat. Then silence. I didn't sleep again. By morning, I'd made a decision. I needed answers. I drove into town, straight to the university physics department, where an old friend of mine, Dr. Lewis, taught astrophysics. When I told him what happened, he laughed at first, until I showed him the recording from my kitchen. He replayed it 3 times, eyes narrowing each time. "This isn't interference," he muttered. "It's structured, it's patterned." "What does that mean?" I asked. He looked up, pale. "It means someone or something was trying to transmit. That word hit me harder than any other. Transmit. As if I was a receiver, not a witness. When I left his office, snow was falling again. The sky was grey, calm. But somewhere beyond those clouds, I could feel it, the hum waiting to return. They hadn't finished with me. Not yet. I used to think nothing could surprise me anymore. After what I'd seen, after the hum, the voices, the mark that came and went like a ghost, I believed the worst was behind me. But the universe has a cruel sense of humor. It happened 2 weeks later. The snow had started to melt, and the air carried that strange metallic smell that comes before spring. I was sitting on the porch, wrapped in an old flannel blanket, staring at the frozen fields behind my house. The night was unusually quiet. Too quiet. Not even the wind dared move. And then the stars began to shift. At first I thought it was my eyes, a trick of the cold maybe. But no, the constellations themselves were changing, sliding across the sky like reflections on water. One of them, a bright white star near the horizon, grew larger, closer. My heart started to hammer. I stood up, gripping the porch rail. The light wasn't flickering like a plane. It was steady, purposeful. Then came the hum, low, deep, vibrating in my ribs. Every dog in the neighborhood started howling. The air turned thick again, heavy with static. I could taste metal on my tongue. I shouted, "Not again!" But they heard me. The light exploded, not outward, but downward. A column of blinding white cut through the night and hit the ground just beyond the tree line. The snow there didn't melt. It floated like it had forgotten gravity. The hum became a note, clear, precise, and my knees buckled. I fell, clutching my head, trying to block it out. But the sound wasn't in my ears anymore. It was inside me. "Do not resist, John. We are not your enemy." The words came as calm as a prayer, but my body screamed in terror. I tried to crawl away, but something lifted me, gently, yet unstoppable. My feet left the ground. The cold vanished. My house, my fields, the earth itself, all dissolved into white. The last thing I remember from below was Max barking like mad, running after me until the light swallowed us both. Then, silence. When I opened my eyes, I was weightless again, floating in a chamber without corners, without walls. It wasn't bright or dark. It simply was, like existing inside a thought. Before me stood 3 figures, the same translucent beings as before, but now sharper, more defined. They radiated a faint shimmer like heat over ice. I wanted to scream, to ask why they'd taken me, what they wanted. But as soon as I thought the question, they answered. "You asked to know. We show you now." I didn't remember asking, but maybe deep down I had. A new light appeared in front of me, a sphere of liquid energy. Inside it, I saw Earth again, but not as from space. This was deeper. I could see magnetic fields, ocean currents, electrical pulses dancing through cities like veins of fire. "Your world is alive," they said, "but sick." The sphere shifted. Now it showed factories, storms, plastic islands swirling in the ocean. I saw children coughing under orange skies. I saw satellites burning in orbit. Then I saw them, thousands of luminous shapes like the ones before, surrounding Earth, watching. Some entered the atmosphere, then vanished. Others hovered, observing. "We have been here since before you were human. We do not rule. We remember." Their voices layered together, hundreds speaking as one. I didn't understand everything, but I felt the truth in their tone, ancient, mournful, almost compassionate. I asked, or thought, "Why me?" "Because you are still willing to see." The light dimmed. The sphere disappeared. In its place, a single crystalline object floated, pulsating like a heartbeat. It was transparent, yet infinite inside, filled with spiraling symbols and flashes of distant stars. This is the heart of time. Your kind has forgotten how to listen to it. I reached toward it. My fingers brushed its surface, and for one impossible instant, I saw everything. 1,000 lives, past, present, and future, folding into one endless now. I saw my parents before I was born. I saw my death. I saw a second Earth, a version where humanity had vanished, and only the lights remained. I gasped, pulling my hand back. My heart pounded so hard I could hear it echo. "It is enough for now," the voice said. "We will return when you are ready." The chamber filled with light. I felt myself falling, faster, colder, until I woke up in my bed. It was morning. The window was open. My dog was asleep by the door, unharmed, and on my nightstand lay something I had never seen before, a small shard of glass, glowing faintly blue. It pulsed once, twice, then went dark, and deep inside my head, a final whisper. "We are still here." I didn't sleep the next night. How could I? That shard, that thing, sat on my nightstand like it owned the room. It didn't glow anymore, but somehow it felt alive, as if it were waiting for me to touch it again. I tried not to. I really did. I drank coffee, turned on every light in the house, even kept the TV running just to drown out my thoughts. But every time I looked at the shard, something inside me whispered, "You've already touched forever once. What's one more time?" By dawn, I gave in. I picked it up carefully. It was cold, almost painfully cold, but the longer I held it, the more it warmed, adapting to my skin. Then came the hum, that same low frequency I'd felt before. But now it was clearer, structured, intelligent. I grabbed a notepad, pressed the shard close to my ear, and it began to speak, not in words, in pulses. 3 short, 1 long, 2 short, repeating patterns. It reminded me of Morse code, only faster, layered, almost alive. I recorded the sound on my phone and sent it to Dr. Lewis, the astrophysicist I'd met earlier. Within an hour, he called back. His voice shook. "John, whatever that is, it's not noise, it's mathematics." "Mathematics?" I asked. "Prime numbers, Fibonacci intervals, and something else. I don't know how to say this, but it's almost like they're trying to synchronize with your heartbeat." That sentence hit me like a punch. I looked down. My heart rate on my smartwatch was rising, matching the rhythm of the shard. Before I could speak, I heard it again, that deep internal voice. "You are aligned. Now you can see." The room darkened instantly, even though it was morning. The shard flared bright blue, and the walls began to dissolve into mist. I staggered back, but my feet weren't touching the floor anymore. The house faded away, and I was standing once again in that endless white expanse. They were waiting. The 3 transparent beings stood in front of me exactly as before, tall, fluid, outlines shimmering like glass underwater. But this time I wasn't afraid. The fear had been replaced by something stranger, familiarity. I spoke, or thought I did. "What are you?" Their shapes flickered. Faces began to form, faint, shifting, almost human. "We are memory," they said. "We do not die. We continue through form." I didn't understand. Memory of what? Of what you were. For a moment, the white fog behind them cleared, and I saw us, humans, millions of years ago, standing under a younger sun. Then the scene warped. The same Earth, but empty. Only lights moving across deserts and oceans, pulsing like neurons. When flesh forgets, light remembers. One of them stepped closer. Its surface reflected not just me, but many versions of me. Older, younger, dying, reborn. I couldn't breathe. "You are the echo of your own creation." My head throbbed. My knees gave out. I felt my body collapsing, but invisible hands caught me, gentle, almost maternal. We reached across the current of time to remind you who you are. Their forms began to shift again. and now they looked unmistakably human. But their eyes were wrong, pure white without iris or pupil, yet seeing everything. We walked your world once, we built with you, learned with you. Then you forgot us. You called us gods, angels, and myths, but we were only your reflection, a future so distant it circles back to its beginning. I whispered, "Are you saying you're us? Not you, but what you become." The chamber vibrated, the light dimmed, then flared. One of them raised a hand toward my chest. I felt a pulse of warmth flow through me, images flashing again behind my eyes, galaxies being born, civilizations rising and collapsing, until only silence remained. When the last light of your sun fades, we will still be here, waiting for the next you to remember. And just like that, I was back in my house, standing in the same spot, holding the shard. The coffee on the counter was still warm. Barely a minute had passed, except everything looked different. The colors in the room were sharper, the air seemed denser, and when I glanced at my reflection in the window, I saw my own eyes faintly glowing white. For the first time since it all began, I didn't feel fear. I felt recognition. I used to think I understood what memory was, a flicker in the brain, a chemical spark. But after that night, I realized memory isn't stored inside us. We live inside it. It began when I touched the shard again. I didn't mean to. It called me softly at first, like a whisper between heartbeats. Then it pulled harder. The air around it shimmered, bending light like heat over asphalt. I barely had time to take a breath before the world tilted and vanished. No noise, no sensation of travel, just arrival. I was standing on what looked like a bridge of light suspended in blackness. The air, if you could call it that, felt alive, like static silk brushing against my skin. In the distance, I saw endless columns rising into nothing, glowing faintly with shapes that moved inside them. The transparent beings appeared again, but this time there were dozens, maybe hundreds. They glided silently between the columns, each one brushing the surface of light as if turning pages in a giant invisible book. "This is the hall," one of them said inside my head, "the sum of what your kind remembers and what it has chosen to forget." I walked closer to one of the pillars. Inside it, images formed, a cave fire, a mother cradling a child, warriors on horseback, a rocket launching into the void. Every scene was human. Every face felt familiar. As I reached out to touch it, my hand sank in, and suddenly I was there. I smelled the smoke of that fire. I felt the heat on my skin. The mother's lullaby echoed in my ears, words in a language older than writing. The vision shifted. I was in a city of glass towers, then a battlefield, then a flooded coast. Each scene bleeding into the next like dreams colliding. "You see now," the voice said, "your world is built on echoes." I pulled my hand away, gasping. The images dissolved back into the column. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. "Why are you showing me this?" I asked aloud. "Because you are not separate from it. You are every face you have ever seen." Their words wrapped around me like gravity. I looked out across the hall, thousands of glowing columns, each one holding the story of a soul, a civilization, a lifetime. And then I noticed something terrifying. Some of the columns were fading. "Why are those dim?" I asked. The answer came slow, heavy. "Those are lives forgotten. When your kind buries truth beneath fear, memory decays." I watched one collapse, a faint flicker, then gone. The light it left behind drifted upward and vanished into the void. Something inside me broke. I realized then that forgetting wasn't just personal, it was cosmic. Every lie, every silence, every act of cruelty erased more than pain. It erased existence itself. I turned to the nearest being. Can it be restored? It studied me for a long moment before answering. Yes, but not by us. Only the living can repair the light of what was lost. The words struck deep. I felt tears welling up, not from sadness, but from the unbearable weight of knowing. The being extended its hand. "Come, John, there is more to see." The bridge began to move, or maybe the hall itself shifted around me. The pillars blurred until they became a single horizon of pure radiance. Ahead, a massive sphere of light pulsed, larger than a planet, throbbing like a colossal heart. This is your world's memory. Inside it I saw oceans, mountains, clouds swirling like thoughts. But beneath it all, something darker stirred. A fracture like a wound bleeding shadow. Your species stands at a threshold. You are learning to shape memory, but not yet to honor it. That is why you were chosen to remember for them. The last thing I heard before everything faded was a whisper, softer than breath. "Do not let them forget again." Then in an instant I was back in my living room, on my knees, gasping for air. The shard lay on the floor, dim and cracked. Through my window dawn was breaking, and for the first time in my life I understood what sunrise really was. Not light returning to the world, but memory choosing to begin again. For days, after what I saw in the hall, I couldn't think straight. Every sound, the ticking of the wall clock, the hum of the refrigerator, even the pulse in my own ears, felt like part of some hidden pattern, as if time itself had begun whispering. But the more I tried to ignore it, the stronger it became. Each hour bled into the next. Clocks stopped. Watches lost minutes. And sometimes, for reasons I couldn't explain, my reflection would lag, blinking a split second after I did. I knew something was coming. The shard had stopped glowing, but it wasn't inert. It vibrated faintly whenever I walked by, like it was sensing me, waiting. Finally, one night, I decided to face it again. I sat in total darkness. Only the sound of the grandfather clock filled the room. Tick-tock, tick-tock. I placed the shard on the table and whispered, "I'm ready." And at that exact moment, the clock stopped. Every second in the house froze. The air itself seemed to solidify, motionless, soundless, timeless. Then came the voice, "You have touched memory. Now you will see time." Light spilled from the shard like liquid fire, rising into a spiral that filled the room. And then I wasn't in my house anymore. I stood on a platform, suspended in infinite darkness. Before me, stretching beyond imagination, was a colossal mechanism, rotating rings of light and shadow, intersecting like the gears of a divine watch. Each ring turned at its own rhythm, some slow as continents drifting, others spinning faster than breath. It wasn't machinery, it was alive. "This is the cosmic clock," the voice said. "It keeps the rhythm of existence. Every world, every soul, every thought moves within its pulse." I could feel it vibrating through my bones, a frequency that wasn't sound but truth. "You call it time," the voice continued, "but time is only the language the universe uses to remember itself." I watched as golden particles flowed through the rings like sand in an hourglass. Each spark, they told me, was a life, a heartbeat, a decision, a moment. Some burned bright and moved upward, others dimmed and fell away. Then I saw something terrifying. One of the outer rings, massive and faintly blue, had stopped turning. Cracks of darkness spread across it like veins of ink. "What's happening?" I asked, though I already felt the answer. "That ring is your world's current. Its rhythm falters. Your kind has accelerated beyond balance. The clock cannot sustain chaos forever." My knees weakened. "Are you saying time itself could end?" "Not end. Reset." The word hung in the air like thunder. "When the imbalance becomes too great, the clock restores harmony. It has done so before. It will do so again." Images flashed around me, civilizations rising and vanishing, planets reborn, suns reignited. The cycle was endless, merciless, perfect. But this time, the repair will not come from above. It must come from within. The voice shifted, no longer distant. It was inside me now, resonating with my pulse. You, John, carry the rhythm of the clock. You are the reminder placed among the forgetful. My mind raced. Why me? I'm no prophet. I'm just a man. All clocks need a witness. I looked up again. The mechanism pulsed once, sending a shockwave of light through the void. The vibration rippled through every part of me, through every cell, every thought. For one heartbeat, I saw everything: the birth of galaxies, the death of stars, and in between them, us, tiny sparks trying to make sense of eternity. Listen well, the voice said. When your world's heartbeat stops aligning with the clocks, the reset begins. And when the reset begins, only those who remember will awaken after it. The rings slowed. The light dimmed. One by one, the gears of reality faded back into shadow. I felt my body falling, collapsing through the layers of light, back through memory, through silence, through gravity. When I opened my eyes, the clock in my house ticked again, but backwards. For exactly 60 seconds, time reversed. The coffee in my cup refilled. The curtains lifted instead of falling. My breath flowed the wrong way. And then everything snapped back. The shard lay on the table, split clean in half. Its light was gone. But carved faintly on its surface were 3 words I'll never forget. The reset begins. The morning after the clock, I woke up thinking it had all been a nightmare. But nightmares don't change the laws of time. The first thing I noticed was the silence. The birds outside weren't singing. My phone screen showed 6:42 a.m., but the minute never changed. The second hand on my watch ticked forward once, then back again, forward, back, like a heartbeat trying to decide if it should stop. And then came the itching, the same spot on my forearm, the one that had glowed the first night. I pulled up my sleeve, and there it was, the circle of light, brighter than ever, pulsing like a second pulse under my skin. Only this time, it wasn't just light. Tiny patterns moved inside it, geometric lines spinning like miniature gears, the same design I'd seen on the rings of the cosmic clock. I stumbled to the sink, splashing water on my arm, trying to cool the burning. The glow didn't fade. The water shimmered instead, vibrating in perfect rhythm with it. That's when I realized it wasn't burning, it was ticking. The mark wasn't a scar, it was a countdown. I don't know how long I stood there staring at it. Minutes, maybe hours, though time had stopped making sense by then. When I looked up, my reflection was off again, a fraction of a second behind. But worse this time, it was smiling. I froze. My mouth was closed, but the reflection's wasn't. Its lips moved, soundless at first, then faintly, "You were chosen to remember." I stumbled back, knocking over the glass. "No, not again." The voice filled the room, layered, metallic, yet eerily calm. "Do not fear the mark. It is not death. It is alignment." "Alignment with what?" I shouted. "With them? With time itself." The reflection blinked, and for an instant I saw them behind me, the transparent beings, faint like ghosts, shimmering through the mirror's surface. I turned, nothing there, but when I faced the glass again, the mark on my arm glowed even stronger, and the image began to shift. My house dissolved, replaced by the white expanse once more. I wasn't transported this time, only seeing through the glass as if the mirror had become a window. The beings moved silently across the void, surrounding the broken shard of light I'd seen before. "The fracture deepens," they said together. "The reset has begun. The living world must decide whether to remember or vanish." "What do you want me to do?" I whispered. "Listen." The light inside the mark pulsed faster. Every flash came with a sound, not a word, but a number. 9, 8, 7, repeating, looping. "The rhythm must be restored before the final pulse," they said, "or everything returns to zero." The vision faded. My reflection returned, pale, shaking, terrified. I grabbed my phone. It was dead. Every digital clock in the house was frozen at 6:42. The only thing still moving was the old pendulum clock on the wall, backwards. By nightfall, I couldn't tell if I was awake or dreaming. I heard faint mechanical noises outside, like distant turbines in the snow. At one point, my dog Max started growling at the window, hackles raised. That's when I saw it, a flicker of blue light beyond the trees, the same color as the shard. I grabbed my coat and flashlight and stepped into the cold. The forest was dead silent. No wind, no insects, nothing. The light pulsed deeper inside the woods, in rhythm with the mark on my arm. Every step I took, it grew brighter, every breath heavier. When I reached the clearing, I saw it. A circle burned into the snow, perfectly symmetrical, steaming but untouched by flame. In its center lay another shard, larger this time, spinning slowly in midair. As I approached, the light formed into symbols that floated above it, shifting numbers, impossible geometries. And for a moment, I understood them. They weren't coordinates. They were dates. 9 pulses left. I heard it clear as thunder inside my head. I turned to run, but the forest behind me was gone. Only blackness stretched in every direction, endless and silent. And then, out of that void, hundreds of glowing eyes appeared, not human, not hostile, just watching. The clock watches all who remember. When the 9th pulse fades, the veil between times will open. I screamed and woke up on my porch, gasping for air, covered in frost. The circle on my arm was fading again, but not gone. I checked my phone. It was still 6:42 a.m. When I finally worked up the courage to drive into town again, I told myself I was going to do something sane, rational. Like a man trying to fix a broken appliance, I was going to show someone the evidence, someone official. I printed photos of the glowing mark, the melted snow ring, the strange shard still hovering in my barn like a silent heartbeat. I even wrote down the numbers I'd seen floating above it, those impossible dates, just in case they meant something to a scientist. The first stop was the Royal Canadian Mounted Police Detachment in Athabasca. The officer at the desk looked at me like I was bringing in a ghost story. I tried to keep my voice steady. There's been some kind of atmospheric phenomenon on my property. Energy discharges, radiation maybe. You might want to send a team out. He smirked. You said radiation. Possibly. That got his attention. He picked up the phone, called someone in a low voice. Within 15 minutes, 2 men in dark suits arrived, not uniforms, not local. They didn't introduce themselves. One carried a briefcase, the other just stared at me with unreadable eyes. Mr. MacArthur, one of them said softly, let's step outside. They led me to an unmarked car. The taller man opened a small case, revealing what looked like a handheld scanner. He aimed it at my arm, and the mark lit up instantly. The device beeped 3 times, then went dead. He looked at his partner, expression tight, shut it off. I asked what they were doing. He didn't answer. Instead, he said, "Where did you get this?" I hesitated. They gave it to me. They? The ones from the light. For the first time, the man's face changed, not disbelief, but recognition. He leaned close enough that I could see the sweat on his temple. Listen carefully, Mr. MacArthur. You never speak about this again. Not to your neighbors, not to the press, not even to your doctor. What's happening? I asked. You've seen this before, haven't you? His partner shut the briefcase and whispered something I couldn't hear. The taller man nodded and handed me a plain white card. No name, no logo, just a single line of text. Do not seek them again. When I looked up, they were already driving away. I stood there for a long time in the cold, card trembling in my hand. I wanted to scream, to chase after them, but a voice deep inside, maybe theirs, told me not to. By the time I got back home, my mailbox was gone. The road sign at the corner, the one with my name, had been replaced with a blank metal plate, as if my address had never existed. That night I went online to contact Dr. Lewis, the astrophysicist. His number was disconnected. His university email bounced back with an error. User does not exist. I searched his name. Nothing. No papers. No faculty profile. No photos. It was like he'd been erased. The next morning I drove to the university myself. His office was empty. His nameplate had been removed. When I asked the receptionist, she frowned. "I'm sorry, sir. We've never had a Dr. Lewis in that department." I laughed, not because it was funny, but because the alternative was losing my mind. That night, I sat on the porch with a bottle of whiskey, watching the tree line. Every few minutes, a faint blue flicker appeared between the trees. No sound, no motion, just watching. And then, around midnight, the radio in my living room turned on by itself, static at first. Then a voice. It wasn't human. The tone was flat, rhythmic, mechanical. "They are not gone, only hidden. You must remember before the 9th pulse." I froze. "Who are you?" "We are the memory they erased." The signal cut off. The silence that followed was worse than the noise. I ran to the phone, called the RCMP post, but the number no longer existed. That's when I realized something horrifying. The world was still there, but the timeline had shifted. Pieces of it, people, places, records, were being rewritten or deleted quietly while everyone slept. I looked down at the glowing circle on my arm. It pulsed once, twice, and formed a new symbol in the center. A countdown. 2 pulses left. I stopped pretending that any of this could be explained. The clocks, the missing people, the countdown in my arm, whatever was happening, it was bigger than memory, bigger than time. I just didn't know whether I was meant to survive it. The night after the men in suits disappeared, the sky changed color. Not blue, not black. Something in between, like the world was stuck between sunrise and extinction. The stars flickered, rearranged themselves into patterns that pulsed in rhythm with the mark on my arm. 8 pulses, 7, 6. Every beat sent a soft vibration through the air, and I swear I could feel the planet answering. Oceans shifting, wind stalling, animals falling silent. It was as if Earth itself was holding its breath. Then came the first light. A thin column shot down from the sky, touching the horizon like a thread of lightning frozen in time. A second appeared beside it, then a third. Soon, the entire skyline was veined with these luminous pillars, forming a cage of brilliance around the world. The reset approaches, memory must decide. The voice returned inside my head, calm but urgent. I stepped out onto the road, snow crunching under my boots, everything glowing that strange electric white. The air smelled of ozone and endings. "Why me?" I whispered again. "Because you still remember what it means to ask." The ground trembled. One of the columns bent toward me, its base expanding until it swallowed the field behind my house. Inside the light, shapes moved, thousands of them. Transparent beings, rising from the earth like spirits escaping the soil. They weren't descending from above, they were waking up from below. The realization hit me. The aliens, the Watchers, whatever they were, they had been here all along, buried beneath us, waiting for this precise alignment in the cosmic clock. "You are not witnessing an invasion," the voice said. "You are witnessing remembrance." I wanted to run, but the light drew me in. Every step closer made the world sharper, the snow crystalline, the air vibrating with color I couldn't name. The mark on my arm blazed, and numbers formed across my skin again. 5, 4, 3, 2. When it reached 1, everything stopped. No sound, no movement. Even the wind froze mid-gust. Then the light folded inward, compressing into a single sphere that hovered above me. Inside it I saw everything I'd lived. My childhood, my parents, every moment of regret, every act of love. Each memory was a spark in that sphere, and behind them other faces appeared. Dr. Lewis, the officers, strangers I'd never met but somehow knew. "These are the echoes of the erased," the voice said. "They were not destroyed, only misplaced in time." The sphere opened like an eye, and I understood. The reset wasn't destruction, it was reordering, a cleansing of corrupted memory. The world wasn't ending, it was being rewritten from its own fragments. Then I saw the danger. Some lights, millions of them, were flickering out, replaced by emptiness. Those who forget themselves will not cross. I fell to my knees. What do I have to do? Remember. The word hit harder than any command I'd ever heard. It wasn't about facts or history. It was about truth, compassion, the pieces of humanity we bury every day under noise and fear. If memory was the key, then maybe I could hold the door open for others. I pressed my glowing arm to the ground. The pulse spread outward through the snow like fire under ice. One by one, the pillars around me steadied, their flickering slowing to the same rhythm as my heartbeat. "The alignment begins," the beings whispered. "One witness is enough to anchor the pattern." I didn't understand how, but I could feel it, the gears of the cosmic clock locking back into motion, the broken ring mending itself through light and memory. The sphere above me dimmed, splitting into countless smaller sparks that drifted upward, dissolving into the sky. The darkness beyond the clouds began to recede, revealing the real stars again, not moving this time, just watching. And then the voice faded for the last time. "When the light returns, you will know what you became." The world snapped back. The wind roared. The pillars vanished. I woke up hours later on the frozen road, the mark on my arm finally gone. The sun was rising, real, golden, warm, but the silence that followed wasn't ordinary. It felt like the pause between two heartbeats of the universe, and somewhere deep inside that stillness I knew, the ninth pulse hadn't ended the world. It had restarted it. It's been 3 months since the night the sky broke open. 3 months since the pillars of light vanished, since the mark on my arm faded like the last ember of a dying fire. And yet, I still wake up every morning before dawn, waiting for that hum, that impossible vibration that used to rise through the ground like a heartbeat from the stars. It never comes, not anymore. But the world isn't the same. I notice it in small things, how birds now fly in perfect synchronized arcs, how the northern lights shimmer in new colors, like languages written across the sky. The clocks work again, but none of them show the same time. People walk slower, like the planet itself is learning how to breathe again. And sometimes I see them. Not fully, just reflections. Figures of light walking behind people on the street, bending down to listen as if guiding them through forgotten memories. No one else seems to notice. But when they pass through me, I feel warmth, the kind that doesn't come from the sun. I think I finally understand. The reset wasn't about destruction. It was about restoration. The beings never wanted to control us. They wanted to remind us, to make us remember what we used to be. Before fear, before division, before time itself became a prison. One morning, I woke to a sound I hadn't heard since the beginning. A single deep tone echoing from nowhere and everywhere at once. The air shimmered, and on the kitchen wall, where the light hit just right, words began to form. Not carved, not written, just appearing. "You have remembered, John. Now teach them to listen." I didn't know what teach meant in that context. I'm not a prophet, not a preacher. I'm a man who spent half his life repairing fences and avoiding people. But I realized the message wasn't about teaching facts. It was about preserving awareness. The simple act of remembering we exist together. So I started writing. At first, just notes, scribbles of what I saw, what I felt. Then entire pages, diagrams, sketches of the clock, the shard, the hall of memories. One night as I wrote, the pen began to move faster, too fast. The words came through me, not from me. Equations, geometric sequences, patterns I couldn't possibly know. I filled an entire notebook before it stopped. When I looked back, I recognized the sequence. It matched the pulse pattern from the being's communication, the rhythm of the cosmic clock. But this time, it wasn't counting down. It was counting up. A new cycle, a new beginning. The next day, I drove to the edge of the forest where it all started. The snow was gone, replaced by wild grass and flowers I'd never seen before, luminous white, almost transparent. When I touched them, they gave off a faint hum, the same tone that had once filled my house. And in the center of the field, where the light first touched the ground, a small object waited for me. Another shard, this one golden. I picked it up. It didn't glow, didn't hum. It simply reflected, showing not my face, but the sky above, endless and alive. A final voice echoed inside me, softer than thought. The cycle resets when the world forgets what it is made of. You are not meant to worship the light, John. You are meant to become it. For a moment I felt everything, every memory, every sound, every heartbeat since the dawn of life, flowing through me like a current. And then it was gone. Now I sit by the window each evening, watching the horizon shimmer with that same golden haze. People call it magnetic storms or solar anomalies. But I know better. It's the memory of the world, remembering itself again. I don't know how long I'll live. The mark never came back, and I feel the days stretching thinner, softer, like the border between moments is dissolving. But I'm not afraid, because somewhere up there, beyond the clouds and the noise, I can still feel the rhythm of the clock. Steady, patient, eternal. And every time it beats, it says the same thing. Remember who you are.